patients are coming in saying, what did they do to me? They're embarrassed about it. They're like, how could I have made such a bad decision? FUE, what you need to know, not what you want to hear.
Hey guys, I want the same thing you guys want. I want the most amount of hair on my head with the least amount of scar. That's what every hair transplant patient wants, and it's really difficult to figure out how to do that. I've had 3 FUT linear hair transplants, and I have a scar because of that. It was in the back of my head. So, I can't shave my head. So did I make the right decision, or should I have gotten an FUE procedure? I see all these incredible results all over YouTube of these guys who have FUE, the hole punch one, and doesn't seem like they have much of any scar at all, or no scar. And they've got this incredible head of hair. So did I make the wrong decision? So today I decided, you know what? I'm gonna grill Steve. Steve is a professional hair transplant consultant. He sees these guys coming into his office having had both procedures every day. And I'm gonna ask him every reason that I can think of as to why I maybe should have had an FUE procedure instead of an FUT procedure. So here we go. This is the hardcore FUE versus FUT. So Steve, I hope you're ready for some tough questions because you're the one who told me to get an FUT procedure. So if you steered me wrong, this could be the end of our friendship. So Steve, was I an FUE candidate? You remember me coming to you? I showed you my kind of almost bald head of hair. We'll show it on the screen here. Could I have gotten FUE instead of FUT and achieved the results that I have right now?
Well, David, what we're talking about today is objectivity in science. Basically, if I didn't know you and you sent me your photos, exactly the way you look like from the original photos, you would have too much hair loss for FUE. You would be considered a better candidate for the linear procedure because we can move more hair in one procedure and we can move around the grafts much easier with much more delicate handling and get better quality grafts than we can with FUE.
But Steve, I have lots of money, so it doesn't matter. I can get as many procedures as I want. I don't care about how much you can remove in one procedure. So I'm talking about, I'm willing to spend as much money as possible. I just don't want a scar, and I want a nice, thick, full head of hair. So what's your response to that?
It's a great point, David. Point being is that FUE leaves scars as well. That's kind of overlooked because, in my opinion, a lot of these doctors online or a lot of these clinics are cherry picking their best results. So you're gonna have scarring. Now just imagine in the back of your head that you have an area where you have a very small linear scar. And that's what you have right now. Of course, you can't shave your head because that jumps out when you're in the back of someone or someone in a Starbucks line is behind you. If you shave your head, you're gonna see your linear scar. The FUE procedure is gonna create massive scarring. Even in one procedure, it's gonna create massive scarring in a massive area. This is the back of your head. They need to go in and drill hole, and pull out the grafts one at a time, which leaves scars. However, the optical illusion when you go lower with a haircut doesn't jump out at you as much because you have hair in between the scars.
But I've seen so many guys who I don't see any scar when I look at them. So how is that happening?
Again, we're talking about who is a good candidate for FUE. What you haven't seen is you haven't seen patients, and many of them that I've seen in the industry, where the wrong procedure is being used on the wrong patient. Someone that is coming in thinking because they see great examples of FUE online that they're a candidate for an FUE procedure, and then they go to the wrong clinic and they decimate their donor. I've seen situations where a doctor has had one procedure, he has dark hair, and you can see the FUE holes in the back of his head. Now, that's one case. But my point is that why would you take that chance? He wasn't a good candidate for FUE. What happened to him in one procedure is called overharvesting. These clinics are taking too much hair via FUE out of the back of the head to satisfy the goals of the patients. Reality is they weren't a good candidate for FUE to start with. As yourself, they had too much hair loss.
Just because I have lots of hair loss, can't you move the FUE hair just the same way that you move FUT hair? So, and even you can take FUE hair from a larger portion of donor area, right?
No, you can't take hair from via FUE in a larger portion because you're going outside the safe zone. What this industry is gravitating toward, which is sad, is that we're kind of leading the witness. We're saying to the patient, hey, you're here. We can move a lot more hair. We can get 500 more grafts, but we're going to go outside the zones that we know are safe, that's never going to fall out. Oh, well, we can maybe change that. We can change your genetics by putting you on Propecia, and that'll protect it, but you'll be on that for the rest of your life. Or If you know what your dad and your granddad and your grandmother and your grandfather on each side, did they go bald? Because if they didn't, let's take a chance. What do you say? Let's roll the dice. And then they're going outside the safe zone. I keep going like this with my hands because the entire back of the head has to be decimated in these procedures because you're poking a hole like a checkerboard. Imagine behind me if there's a checkerboard or this brick here, I pull a graft and then I have to skip a space and pull a graft. I mean, this is the plug procedure that they did on me in 1979. It's just used a smaller machine. And the problem that I have with it is that to get more hair, you're decimating the donor. That's an issue. That's why, from an ethical standpoint, and this is what you don't want to hear, okay, that it's not a good idea if you're not a good candidate for FUE to do FUE.
Okay, so I'm starting to get a little bit better of an idea. So let's pretend that the bricks behind you are hair follicles. If we started taking out one brick, skip a place, another brick, skip a place, another brick, at some point we're going to have removed so much hair that it's going to actually leave a bigger scar. So to do a large procedure where you're taking out one brick and then skip a space, another brick, skip a space, at some point it's actually a lot of hair removed. And then at that point you have a larger scar from all of that hair that's been removed, because it's the same thing. You're removing hair either way, but with a linear procedure, you're removing just one strip of hair. So then once you tie that strip together, well, then you've got a scar, but you just have one place that the hair has been taken from, not tons and tons and tons of holes.
That's correct. And here's, not to redirect your question, David, but here's what's more important, in my opinion. The science behind FUE was never set up for large procedures because of the science and the technology that will remove the grafts. You're going to hear so many objections to this video because patients are going to say, oh no, not my doctor. My doctor's great at doing FUE, or my doctor uses a special machine, or my doctor, he does it a different way than everybody else. Here's what is going on. Here's what you need to know, not what you want to hear, right? It's a drill. It's a drill drilling into the back of your head with a spinning mechanism. It doesn't matter what it's called, or if it's robotic, or if it's held by hand, or under a surgeon's eye. It doesn't matter. It's a drill. No one, except Superman, can see the angle and direction of the hair in the back of the head. So there's about a 25 to 30, average transection rate. So let's go back to you, David. You were, no offense, pretty bald at a young age. Let's say we bought into all this online, and we talked about how the back of the head is going to have hairs coming out of it, and we're going to go in with FUE, and we're going to get 5,000 hairs. That sounds exciting. No linear scar, sign me up. What you don't know is, on average, 1,500 or 1,000 of those grafts aren't going to grow. So why would we do that? Well, we would do that because you're buying into this. You out there as a consumer, this is a sexier way to do this procedure. Sign me up. No linear scar. I can cut my hair real short. Sounds great. And all these things that I'm seeing out there about transection and whatnot, oh, great, you only have a 5% transection rate, doc, because you're so amazing. It's just not true. But you want to hear this. You don't want me to tell you what you need to know. You want to hear what you want to hear, and that's what they're telling you online.
But what about, Steve, the really small FUE punch? Those really small holes. So they're only leaving a tiny, 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 tiny little hole because it's a very small punch. What about that? I mean, that's not going to do as much damage, right, to the back of my head because it's a tiny little hole.
It sounds great. I mean, again, it's a sexy sell. It's an easy way to convince yourself that FUE is for you. The problem is, what are we really talking about here? Think about this. We're talking about a doctor that's going to use a tiny little punch because he's so good at it, because we don't want to have any scarring or very little scarring. In reality, what we're doing is we're trading off proper or better supportive tissue that is including a sebaceous gland, which is crucial for the survival of the graft. Isn't that what we want? We want them to grow. So what we're doing is we're saying, no, don't use the machine over there that'll guarantee enough supportive tissue. Use that machine because I don't want any scarring. So you're swapping out a rate of transection or non-growth, which guaranteed is in your paperwork that you sign on the morning of the procedure. For as many, David, as these great results you've seen online, and there's a lot, and I'm not poo-pooing FUE, only for the right candidate, but for as many of you as you've seen that are working for people, you have no idea what I'm seeing in the industry where patients are coming in saying, what did they do to me? They're embarrassed about it. They're like, how could I have made such a bad decision? It's all about, are you a good candidate or not for FUE? if everybody went by the worst case scenario, which is my middle name, and I'm telling you what you need to know, then we would all be okay. Because like I guided you, David, and this is why we're having this video conversation, is you were a better candidate. As a matter of fact, you weren't not a candidate for FUE. So when we did the linear procedure on you, we were able to extract a lot of hair safely and very little damage to it because we could take it and turn it on its side with all this full supportive tissue and the sebaceous gland intact. That can't be done with FUE. I'm sorry that I'm telling you what you need to hear.
I think I'm understanding. That tiny, tiny little punch, when you're punching out the hair follicle, you're removing a lot of the sebaceous gland and the supportive tissue. So you're actually giving that hair a lot less of a chance to grow. Kind of the way if you picked up a tree that was growing in a yard, and if you just pulled it out by the root and there was no supportive tissue or supportive dirt, there's a much worse chance that it's going to grow when you plant it again versus cutting around it in a big circle to give it a lot of support, a lot of dirt. So when you plant it again, it hasn't been traumatized, basically.
Exactly. What you want is you want a good quality graft. In 1992, the gold standard came out in the industry where we were able to break down the tissue in linear fashion and take it out all intact. 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 hairs in one piece of tissue that then had to be taken care of and handled delicately and properly. If you don't have the right staff, then throw that out the window. If you don't have the right doctor to get the tissue out, I mean, there's doctors out there that don't know what they're doing. They'll destroy the whole sebaceous gland when they're removing out a linear strip. But we're talking about the best of the best here. We're comparing doctors that are at the premium in their lives in hair restoration to the best of the best. So when it comes down to it, candidate for candidate, head for head, there is no question about it. If you ask your doctor and he's being honest with you, there's no comparing a linear procedure graft that's been dissected under a microscope versus one that's been punched, ripped, and pulled from FUE. It's just a different science. I'm not trying to knock the FUE only doctors that don't do linear procedures. That's not the purpose of this video. It's to answer your questions about FUE and our viewers' questions. And there's no comparison. So again, I'm going to say it over and over. If you're not a good candidate for FUE, you should not be given FUE.
So who is a good candidate for FUE?
So FUE candidates generally are patients that have really thick, dark, straight, ropey hair. Not only are their follicle or is their hair stronger than someone like me with the Eastern European, type hair, but their actual supportive tissue is stronger. So they have a better chance of survival when it's being punched and pulled. That's number one. Number two is, don't forget that transection. No matter how great that doctor is, no matter how great that staff is, just sheer numbers, you're gonna destroy a lot of follicles. So you can't go in there and get out 5,000, 6,000 grafts. You're gonna destroy a lot, but you want to believe that they've got 5,000 or 6,000, so they're gonna put them in anyway. And you look great the day after the procedure, but good luck on those growing. So it's for minimal hair loss patients. Patients that need hairline restoration. Patients that are on preventative treatments and have been on those preventative treatments for at least a year and are not experiencing excessive hair loss. FUE is generally not a good procedure for anyone really young because we don't know their hair loss future. So in a perfect world, let's say we have a 55-year-old man that has very little hair loss. And he doesn't have any genetic hair loss in his family history. And he's also doing preventative treatments for the last 10 years. And he wants to restore his hairline. Oh my God. The FUE procedure is perfect for him. That is someone that we want to get as quickly as we can into FUE because really, that's what it was created for.
As someone who's been through hair transplants and guys are constantly contacting me about their hair transplants and hair transplant experiences, I have more people contact me that have had bad FUE results and are unhappy with their results than FUT procedures. I actually can't think of a single person who's emailed me who said that they had a bad FUT procedure and that things didn't work out for them. I have had comments on my YouTube channel about that, but I've never had anyone email me pictures in that way who's recently had one of those kinds of experiences. So just going by the numbers, it does seem like a lot more people are having bad FUE experiences than the other way around. And just for the record, Steve, the surgeon that you're currently working for, Dr. McGrath, he does both FUE and FUT procedures. So you have no monetary reason to encourage anyone to go in one direction or the other.
I think that just from sheer credibility standpoint, that when you visit these clinics, when you email them your photos, and this is including to me, because I'm here to help all of you, that you need to talk to someone that represents a physician that has years of experience in doing both procedures. You want to know the pros and cons of both procedures. There's no incentive for that doctor. I mean, think about it, okay? There's a lot of doctors now in the ABHRS that are only doing FUE. This will be for another video on why they're only doing FUE, okay? But with that being said, I will disclose that I have heard some of these clinics that'll turn away someone with severe balding or poor donor hair and they won't take their money. The European companies out there advertising on our blogs over here or our marketing sites, they'll take anybody that'll sign up, okay? But, and be careful of that, but the doctors that do both, that can sit you down and explain to you the pros and cons of each, that is someone that has credibility in who you should listen to for your guidance. Because, you know, if you're a young guy that doesn't really care about his hair loss, but thinks it's really cool to get some hair back, and, you know, they're going to do a linear procedure on you, you got no history of family hair loss, you might have had a high genetic hairline, and you have great, thick, strong donor hair, might be a great candidate for FUE. You need to hear that from someone that can give you both options. By the same token, if you're a class 7 or Norwood 7 on the, you know, bald guy, young Frankenstein kind of thing, and you're walking into a doctor that only does FUE, you're going to be coerced most likely into, well, we can get you some hair up there if you just want a little bit of hair just so you're not completely bald. But that makes no sense to me. So again, you want to talk to someone that doesn't have a skin in either game entirely. It's either or and the pros and cons of each.